Put your red shirt on and a brown coat too. Everybody's joining the crew. We got just one ring, let we rule them all. Hope you'd remember your towels. Get your Ulu feathers and your needler guns. A sonic screwdriver or a sword +1. Use Valerian steel if it will get you to come. To the pit tank. To the pit tank. The Rocky Mountain pit tank.
Hi, I'm Guy,
Hi, I'm Troy,
Hi, I'm Alex.
and this is Geek Tank.
your bucket full of leftover turkey-sized podcast. But all my turkey's actually gone now, so I have no more leftover
Actually, I'm
turkey.
still working through the mashed potatoes.
When you're done with that, I've got some more of your mashed potatoes here you can have.
Not very
Hey,
popular.
it's a Brant. Well, cool. I'm glad you guys made it on time. I was getting a little worried.
I'm still having arguments with the kid,
Uh-oh. You got to
So.
put him down.
right? Into this world,
Take him out.
right?
So we were at GalactiCon, two of the three of us, 2/3 of Geek.
Yeah, we're not rubbing this in with Alex or anything.
Oh, no, it's sad timing. This is what it was.
It was.
Mm-hmm.
We actually really could have used Alex there. We didn't do ourselves any favors.
Yeah. Brent's only got gravy. Make some gravy popsicles.
Wow.
But it was cool. It was their very first convention that they had. So this was GalactiCon 01. And they seem to be pretty open to suggestions on how to make it a better convention. And, it's being the first convention, I figured it would have some missteps. And it was on Thanksgiving weekend, which I think pretty much gave it a punch in its attendance.
Yes.
But yeah. But
I think Storm gave it a punch in the attendance too.
From X-Men?
From X-Men Storm.
Yeah, we thought that the poor weather at Mile High Con also affected our numbers. So yeah.
See
that luck of the draw.
But we got some good interviews, got some good footage that we'll get through the pseudo edited mill. So, get it out there. You had got what you thought you weren't going to be able to get, which was Todd Stashwick.
Mm-hmm.
You thought you weren't going to be able to get that interview, but it came through.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It did.
So there, take that.
Yep.
So who is this person that you had the interview with, and what is their importance?
Todd Stashwick was played Captain Shaw in season 3 of Picard, which was really cool, and it was a good interview and everything like that, and I rather enjoyed it. So yeah, but he was amongst the ones that I was hoping to get an interview with, because of course usually I like to get an interview with as many of the Star Trek alum as I possibly can. But most interesting was being there with Denise Crosby. That was probably the one that I was most affected by and thought was coolest. Denise Crosby, of course, played Tasha Yar, and since her departure from Star Trek has been sort of a watcher, sort of watching the fandom and keeping things together. And
she likes to watch.
So, but she intimidated me. It was very funny, and I was humored by the fact that Tasha Yar still very much intimidates me, even now. Just being in the presence of Tasha Yar is enough to be intimidating. So it was a good thing and a bad thing. I mean, well, it wasn't a bad thing. It was never a bad thing, but yeah.
So was it a particular answer that she gave you that was intimidating, or?
No, just being in the presence of Tasha.
Oh, okay. Just simply
So-
being there.
I was, when season 1 of Star Trek Next Generation came around, I was, of course, the same age as Wesley Crusher. And I have always been very, she believed the android. I have always been very,
Jealous?
no, I want to say attracted to, but that implies a sexual meaning or a connotation of that sort. It's not what I'm talking about. The super strong women, Vasquez, Ripley, things like that. And Yar was the security officer and just beat the crap out of people all over the place. And that was a really cool thing for me, and very, very much a intimidating thing. So not in a negative way. She intimidating, but there was some part of that 14-year-old that was very like, we got to be on our best behavior. We've got to do all the things right or she will kill us. 6 ways to Sunday. Even though obviously Denise Crosby looks nothing like, I mean, she looks like Tasha Yar, but she isn't. Denise Crosby isn't Tasha Yar. You know what I mean? These are two different people. And,
No way.
and the individual that Tasha Yar was is not the same as the individual that Denise Crosby is.
Well, you may not be attracted to strong females, but that definitely is. That's a big check mark in my "Are they attractive or not?" book for me. So I'd be intimidated probably in that way if it was a character / actress that I had that. But I get what you're saying. It's like, this is a position, a character who I respect for their authority, and because of their authority, therefore it makes me a little intimidated.
Yes,
like General Patton or something.
I exactly. I was intimidated in the way I would have been if I had been sitting down with, say, Obama. You know what I mean? Like intimidated by the position, and attracted to it at the same time. I would love to sit down with Obama and talk to Obama, but no. Yeah, it's hard to explain because a lot of people had a crush on Yar, and I did not have a crush on Yar. She wasn't the character that I had a crush on. So, I that's why I'm being careful how I parse this. I've never found Yar to be attractive in that way, but I love her strength and the character. So,
but okay, yeah, this I'm glad you got that interview. I didn't get any like dream interviews, but all the interviews I had, all the people were very lovely and very nice. They had me pinch hit moderating some panels for them for Q&A, where they had a guest come on and tell stories and answer questions to the audience. And they wanted somebody there to keep it organized, which they clearly don't know me very well if organization is what they were after. But I stepped in and took care of that, and took care of, I covered for Carrie Vaughn, who is an author, local author, and for Ross Mullen, who plays a lot of creatures with the makeup on and such, and Dan, his name keeps trying to escape me. Was it McCabe or something like that? I'm sorry. I apologize, Dan. I'm sorry.
Dan McCabe?
Is that right?
no,
Like
that's
our
one
friend?
of our people. No,
Okay.
it's Dan Moen.
Madsen. So it just took me a second to find it. Who spearheaded the very first, the first here in Denver, like official fan magazine for Star Trek and Star Wars, and was responsible for the very first Star Wars celebration festival thing that took place at the Rocky Mountain airplane hangar. This is what I'm going to call it. I don't go there as much as Guy does. Guy lives there.
Would you like me to pinch hit here?
Well, you were there and I wasn't, so it makes sense.
No, I'm just saying Dan Madsen. Madsen. Yeah. He was, yeah. So in the 70s, he was making the first big Star Trek fanzine, which I actually had copies of, and that was called the Star Trek Communicator. He was publishing them out of Aurora, and I had no idea. I just naturally assumed it was coming from New York or LA or something. It went professional when Paramount picked him up at one point in time because he'd been communicating and sending them to Gene Roddenberry. And Gene Roddenberry had him come in and do the actual official thing. Shortly thereafter, George Lucas also brought him aboard to do the Star Wars fanzine as well. Both of these are being published out of Aurora, which I still had no idea. And then, as you had said, he was responsible for that first Star Wars celebration at the Air and Space Museum, which is out at Buckley Air Force Base. And it rained the entire weekend. And I remember that. And I remember going there with James. And I remember us both thinking, James and Kevin, no less. And I remember both of us thinking, we could wear Jedi robes, but if we do, they will get all muddy. And it was interesting. So there you go. I hope that filled in all the pieces that you
It was the location I couldn't remember because I don't.
Yeah. It's at Buckley.
Know for sure.
Yeah. So.
But I never went to that. I do know that the local mall in Louisville, Kentucky at one time around either Star Wars or Empire came out. There was an X-Wing that was making a tour around different states, and they had it set up in the mall at that area section of it. And I thought it was kind of funny because they had big giant styrofoam balls stuck on the end where the lasers would go.
Oh, that makes it even funnier.
Guess so nobody pokes their eye out or something. Oh,
right.
But yeah, I got the Q&A for all of them. They were pretty awesome and very friendly and appreciative, which was like the best part. They were appreciative that I was there to keep those crazy geeks in line and keep from getting out of control. And then we had a panel that both of us were going to sit in on called Choosing Your Next Binge Watch. But last minute, our media organizer called us and said that they had lined up for us Jesse James Keitel. Jesse James Keitel. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, for an interview. And that's, I went ahead and jumped on that one because the guy was interviewed out at that point and he stepped in for the panel for me on that one.
But, you jumped on her.
Yeah. Well, she is extremely sexy and was showing a lot of skin during that interview. So
just saying.
You're just saying. I'm saying if I was available and she was interested, that would be all it would take. So
that's fair.
But yeah. She's got a project that I can't give any details of yet until I get a clearance from, I guess, her agent through the media team. But she's like, I don't know if I can tell you this, but I have this thing coming out. I'm like, let's do the interview and I'll record it and then we'll sit on it until I get the approval to release it. So right here, you'll get to hear it first the moment I'm allowed to release it.
Exclusive.
For me, probably the most fun part was the exchange that Guy and I had when Guy was taking part in an awesome cosplay of Data. So, and you were really enjoying that exchange too, and it was an amazing cosplay, amazing play part of the cosplay. You tell the Star Trek part of it, and I'll tell my part of it.
You're just proud of yourself.
I am. I'm proud of the speed and timing of which I responded.
Right. No, I'm not going to actually complain. That was pretty clever.
Thank you.
But I will illustrate then because I actually took pictures, so I will share here.
Yeah, do that.
I came upon a situation.
And kudos to that cosplayer. Excellent work.
Right. Don't show this again. I understand.
Don't show the porn.
Don't show the porn again.
Although if you are, I guess Geek Tank at Night would be the time to do that.
Right. So I will share this picture. I came upon this scene. You'll have to add the picture to this.
Oh,
screen.
That's right. You have no power.
I have no control. Came upon this scene by which Data was allowing a stormtrooper to paint on the painting of Daj, which I thought was rather lovely.
And for those who don't know what Daj is,
Daj would be Data's daughter. So, of course, me being interested and intrigued, I said, "Hey, this is really cool. Can I take a couple of pictures?" I don't know why the thing is not lined up properly, and I did. And then the stormtrooper went on ahead and went on going, and I said, "Can I take pictures of you?" And he said, "Certainly." And so I took pictures of him. As he was doing this whole thing, and the cosplay was perfect. He just did a very, very wonderful job. And as I talked to him, he said, this started out as a performance piece. However, I believe under the circumstances that this should be an interactive piece. And he handed me the brush and the palette, and I started to do the painting on there as well. And I was painting on this painting of Daj, which I thought was just so cool. It was such a remarkably immersive moment. And I thought, this is what cons are all about. So then Troy says,
well, you were being included in the play part of the cosplay, which was really cool.
I was getting included in the cosplay. Exactly.
And so I had to make a Bob Ross joke. So I'm like, make happy little trees. And that's not the funny joke. But so then Data says, picking up on the Bob Ross thing, there are no mistakes. And then I believe, Alex, you're the one who coined the phrase, or at least the first place I've heard the phrase, joke initiative.
Oh, yeah.
So I got a nat 20 on my joke initiative, and with perfect timing, I said, that's not what his mom said. And Data almost broke character. You could see like the smile coming across his face.
If only I was wearing my Star Trek uniform.
But
I was wearing my Geek Tank uniform.
Yep, you were uniformed into Geek Tanks.
Yep. So there you go. That was my comment on this, and that was.
And it was cool that you got to be a part of that, and it's too bad we didn't get video and get the cosplayers' names. So we'll have to see if we can't do any detective work and find who was playing Data on that. But you did also get to finally get your wraparound buddy, which I said sounds like a line of stuffies. You got your wraparound buddy photo.
I did get my wraparound buddy photo.
Heather Feather.
Yep. Who isn't Heather Feather? It's Heather After.
Heather After cosplay.
Yes, Heather After cosplay.
Okay.
And
that was cool. But yeah, because she had her Star Trek wraparound uniform, and you wore your Star Trek wraparound uniform. Did you have photos of that accessible pretty easily, or that have take digging?
I do.
Show our audience that.
I will, but it takes a second. Without control, this is a lot harder and complicated. There we go. So, yep, that was my wraparound buddy, who I really like her uniform, because I had done, of course, my captain on my ship used a female variant of the wraparound uniform. So I thought it was really cool. Her variant looks great. It's well done and well made. And so I wore my wraparound, she wore hers, and we were wraparound buddies.
Mm-hmm.
So that was cool.
Yeah. And then she had a different Star Trek uniform on the next day.
Yes, she did.
Yep.
But I didn't wear a different uniform on that day.
No. Oh, and then who else was there that we got to say hi to? There was Rachel Rainier, Rener. And if you're looking for her books, it's actually going to have to look under author Rachel Rainier. You can't just look up Rainier. And if you put two N's in it, you'll find a totally different Rachel Rainier, who's also an author. But yeah, I ordered one of her books since she had already left the con before I could go buy one from her. Since she gave us an interview, I felt it would only be polite to purchase one of her books from her. And sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
You picked up some of the ones called the Lady Who Talked to Ash, or
Yep. So I had read the Girl Who Talked to Ashes, and it was
Bye, Bob.
Hi, Bob.
I can't make it focus. I'm too drunk.
You're too drunk.
I must be drunk over here.
Yep. So, but yeah, she was the lady who talked to Ash was, or who talks to Ashes, is a good book. Very, very interesting, sort of contemporary sci-fi, and I really like it. And so, but it was a single book. She has written a sequel to it. It is at the moment just a duo, and so I, of course, picked up that book, and that was wonderful. And I picked up the sequel to it, which she just released this year.
Cool.
So yeah.
When I get my copy of the inked book the Gilded Blood. You can borrow it after I'm done with it if you'd like to see if that's something you're interested in.
Oh yes.
Oh, I'm no longer blurred. I'll change my name back. But yeah, gosh, what else was there with that convention?
I am getting all of the things together at this moment here and putting them all in the same folder.
Okay.
So
What
'cause
other
there's a couple
experiences?
of other things that were cool in there too. Because that was an amazingly effective and well done convention, in my opinion. We did a good job.
Well, for us, yes. And then the things that they had that I haven't seen at conventions before that was pretty cool. The two things they had a greeter,
Yes.
which they probably needed more than not because they ran out of program books pretty fast.
They
And,
intended to do that on purpose, I heard. So that's
Oh.
interesting.
but making it hard to find some stuff. But the good thing is they had a greeter, which I think a lot of conventions might benefit from that for people coming in to say, hey, over there's registration, over there's volunteers. Have you thought about volunteering? That kind of stuff. Oh, look, you have a weapon. You should check in over there first.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had a room they called specifically the podcast room, which was essentially it wasn't advertised very well for the attendees, but it was a good start, which is essentially a panel room for podcast groups to book and do a show live from or record it, whichever way they wanted.
I very much like that, yeah.
Yeah, I think what they need to do is for next year is to have the podcast groups get in as early as possible before the program guides are made and say, hey, this will be Geek Tank, and we'll be there talking about how to paint minis or whatever our topic is. And then that way the attendees can see it and go, oh, I'd like to attend this podcast that's covering this topic, and then they can schedule as they like.
Right.
And then they could also broadcast it live over their channel if they wanted to. They could have like the 24-hour podcast feed or whatever they're doing. But yeah, it's kind of neat, and it's there was obviously a void left when Starfest went down, and I could tell GalactiCon's mission is to try to fill that void.
Yeah, it does feel very much like the logical inheritance. That's not the word I'm looking for. The logical
Successor.
Thank you. And Brent, we've been thinking about it. It would be in Geek Tank colors, and it'd be called G33K.
When he says we, he means him and Kevin, because I'm not a part of that.
Yep, him and Kevin. Well, Troy would be a part of it.
Well, I would be, but I'm not interested in. Kevin's been wanting to build a droid for a long time. I knew that.
Yes, that's the name of our Geek Tank droid, and it's in black and green. Speaking of automated droids, there was a Wally there that was pretty awesome. I have pictures of that too. Yep, rolling around, playing its own soundtrack. It was, but it was an adorable soundtrack. Yeah. I'll present that picture. But yeah, we didn't. Unfortunately, our sponsors weren't there. But it is interesting that we were missing our sponsors. Yeah, but you know where you can find our sponsors. Yep, you can definitely find that Geek Tank is sponsored by Kieran Games, Geekway Homes, and your mom. Well, she's over there. Yep.
So I was wondering, I know some of our people, some of our staffers from HiCon and some other conventions in the area were working at GalactiCon. How many familiar faces do you see doing the convention? How many new faces? How many people from the old Starfest were there? I'm going to pass that to Guy because I don't know any of those. Quite a few. There were a lot of people from COAF. There were a lot of people from Mile HiCon. Our panel that Troy and I were doing was with Thea of logistics, Mile HiCon's logistics. So, I mean, like, we literally were sitting down with somebody from Mile HiCon to do that panel. I did see, it did seem like they pulled the majority of the people from Starfest, StarCon that they could still do, is still grab. But the truth is that
when Starfest went down, most of the people who were with it were retiring, legitimately retiring. So a lot of the people probably didn't come back just simply because it's nice to take a break. So I did see the majority seemed like when we were talking about operations was run by 2 people from NDK, 1 person from COAF, and 1 person from no, 2 people from COAF. So it was NDK and COAF that were effectively running their ops. And of course, we took their media team. So that's the Starfest media team, which also is now the NDK media team, is also the GalactiCon's media team. So that was cool.
Mhm.
And we knew them well, and they knew us well. And that's why they let us do all the interviews. And thinking around at registration, most of those people were ex Starfest at registration. A handful of people were new and hadn't been at a convention really or worked a convention before, which was kind of interesting. But the con chair worked for Starfest, so kind of makes sense. I've met the con chair a number of times, and since then have met the con chair a number of times as well. So kind of cool.
I don't really know the con chairs from any of the conventions other than NDK all that well.
That's fair. I make friends with trees, so
happy trees.
Happy trees. I will talk to anybody.
Mm-hmm. As long as they got candy in a van.
Yep, exactly. There's a phenomenal enterprise there.
And you're talking about the ship, not like
model,
just
yeah.
like the business of
phenomenal enterprise ship model.
Okay.
Which was gorgeous, absolutely stunning. All the lights worked, and it was highly detailed. That's looking in the bridge. You could see all the control panels were lit up and everything like that. It was phenomenally done. I mean, it's and then the shuttle bay even had the shuttles on the turntables, so that was cool. It was just a well done model. Really, really lovely.
It's like a ship in a bottle.
Yep.
A little tiny
bottle. So
yeah.
If you wanted, I can show that Wall-E too.
Sure. Since you already said it, it'd be kind of weird not to now.
Yeah, I'll show that Wall-E. This is that Wall-E that they had there.
Operating treads.
Yeah, he would look different directions. He'd wave. Unfortunately, that's blurry, but you can at least understand where he was. And he was waving at people. So it was a really cool Wall-E.
Now, remote control or
Yes.
I would assume so. And I assume somebody standing around here was running the remote, but I
think it's the person in the blue pants there that was next to them, because it looked like they were holding a remote.
Maybe. I did notice that the astromech that was going around had two switch remotes in each hand. So one switch remote in each hand. So they were controlling the astromech through that. So is that Wall-E printed or metal? I have no idea. He was remarkably emotional, and I mean that in the all of us standing around him were very affected by that. It was a very emotional. He was emoting well, so nobody touched him because it was kind of like
it'd be kind of rude to walk over and poke it.
Yeah, so I don't know. I just
saw you should have said, "Can I touch your Wall-E?"
Yep, that wouldn't get me ejected from the con.
No, not at all.
Yep. So anyway,
but yeah, it was cool. And then I didn't actually see the dinosaur, but I could hear the dinosaur from across the hotel. So it was quite loud.
Yeah, it was definitely a Utah raptor, and was most certainly impressive. stood 6 feet at the top of the hip, leaning forward. The tail and the body went both, two different directions, took up a lot of space, but it was most certainly a Utah raptor. So it was gorgeous. There was also a full-size Chewbacca who also made a lot of noise.
Yeah. Must be tricky trying to correctly tune the speakers in cosplays like that to get them just the right volume so it's not irritating but loud enough to be realistic.
Yes.
Cool.
Cool. Yeah. Well, in any case, that was GalactiCon. We have something coming up in January, don't we?
Hexacon.
Hexacon, which I don't know. The people who run that don't really like us anymore, right?
Oh my!
I'm making a joke. I have no idea, but I'm pretty sure that they want us there.
They do.
Okay.
I mean, we still probably ought to sign up, but yes.
Well, yeah. Since we haven't heard from them, signing up probably would be a good thing to do.
Exactly.
Because it's
Can't take you guys anywhere.
I know. But we are still coming off of the COVID slump, and so I think a lot of conventions we got to get back into the hang of letting conventions know we exist, and if they would like us there, we will be there.
Yes.
But yeah. Oh, I came up with a name for a panel that would be kind of fun to run. And at the moment, I think the topic, the topic's explanation would be looking at toxicity amongst fans. And the title of it is "My Fandom Can Beat Up Your Fandom." And it kind of came about just because of the idea of the whole Star Trek versus Star Wars fans, which is not entirely as bad as it seems, but the picking one fandom and sticking with it and not liking anything else.
Well,
yeah, you met us at Warp, Colorado.
Everyone else, I would assume.
My microphone was in the way, so at first I thought you were saying you met us all at WAP, which is not at all what you meant. So, man. In any case, did we have any plans for topics and stuff? Because that's the other connection I made with both Rachel Rainier, and there's another person, Ashton was her name, who was actually just an assistant to the cosplayer that guy knew, Heather, after cosplay. Both of them were interested in just coming on and being guests at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Rachel would be on because she's an author and a geek and very funny. And Ashton, I was talking to her while Guy was talking to the cosplayer that she was assisting, and she's into, her fandom is actual real life serial killers and horror makeup and such. And so we were talking, and I'm like, you got a lot of knowledge for this stuff. Do you listen to podcasts? Because there's a ton of like true crime podcasts out there. She's like, no, not really. And I'm like, you know enough that you could probably start your own podcast. Would you like to just come be a guest on ours and talk about serial killers and such? And she thought that sounded like a lot of fun. So unfortunately, we just missed Halloween with that connection.
Yep.
That would have been perfect. What I might do is say, is a year too long to wait for that? And see if she cares.
Yeah, no, I as far as topics go, I mean, that sounds cool. I mean, you can always just schedule it and we call it, there's horror movies all sorts of times a year.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I figured that y'all would be talking about the convention the whole time. So
I feel like the first half of the show was good enough to cover everything, unless Guy feels like there's anything else left to say about it.
No, I'm fine.
And we've got footage that's we're gonna be releasing of it, and it's what'll probably
extra.
Yeah, and I mean, by one of those things that once it gets put together, we could just take a night off and show it in place of us doing stuff.
That sounds like a great idea too.
But yeah, it's definitely a busy weekend. Guys, back in the D&D game.
Yay!
Yes. I've returned to the D&D game,
Mhm.
which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to be back in the universe and the world that has Ivy in it, for better or for worse.
It's always for worse.
Always for worse. There's very little we can do about that.
Yeah, it was good to have you back, Guy.
It's good to be back.
Just gonna see what other conventions might be coming. I feel like there was another one in January, but I can't remember what it was. That's the convention center. It's not what I want.
That won't help you any, huh?
No. Yep. It's like all this stuff is just giving me the exact same convention. Oh, December 8th through 10th. I've never been to this one. I don't know if any of you have. The DakuCon.
Yeah, DakuCon was at the yeah, I do need to put that together, don't I?
Mm-hmm.
But I could look at it, the old one, and it probably would give us a guide.
Yeah, at least for a few of you might have bled over a bit into the 2024.
I didn't, but that's all right. I mean, we could still look at it and get a guide of usually what's going on.
Do you know anybody on the board for DakuCon or in the know?
I mean, we had the person who was at GalactiCon representing DakuCon was somebody we knew. Used to be with the security, Otto. And so he and I chatted many times. I like DakuCon as its concept is that it's an 18+ convention. The problem is that a lot of people tend to presume that means that it's just porn or something like that, but it's not. It just means that there's no, warning for underage children. Don't take your kids into this theater or whatever. There's no.
Yeah. See, they need to bring us in so we can disprove that myth. Or prove it, whichever way it goes.
Good. I think DakuCon has wanted us to show up at those conventions many times.
Oh, okay.
The only reason we don't is because we've been pretty much out of the regular circuit for
a couple of years
now. Yeah, I am sharing my calendar if you wanted to bring it up.
I was looking over at the other stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, at least we know that DakuCon is December 8th through 10th. But I mean, you look at the first part of this, and we've got Hexacon, which will start out somewhere early January, and then Cosine, which is one that was mentioned and brought up to us, you and I, if you
right, by the panelists.
Yeah. So that is definitely, it's another science fiction con. It just happens to be in Colorado Springs.
Yeah, which means it'd just be for one of the days since we'd have to drive down and drive back.
Drive down and drive back, yeah. Which is fine, but we could at least hit it for a Saturday. Retromania Boulder, that's not necessarily our style, and neither really is Furry Ski Weekend.
Yeah.
But Genghis Khan then rolls up in February.
Skiing is kind of
with furries. That doesn't seem like my thing. But I didn't just make this for just the things that Geek Tank would want. So I added
right.
And then COAF would be in March, and I've already talked to the con chair there, and definitely they would like to have us at COAF.
Cool.
And Whimsy definitely would like to have us. And of course, I'll be tabling at Wicked West. So generally speaking,
usually we try to pick conventions that aren't a struggle to get to for us, since
Wicked West would be it's halfway between here and Fort Collins, so that lines us up there. And of course, Rocky Mountain Nightmares would be something I think if you were to do these things, these red ones here, the Rocky Mountain Nightmares and Kofo, would be great for like you and Alex to do. because I don't know anything about the horror field, nor am I really that interested. But that's not necessarily something we should. I mean, we shouldn't not go because of that. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
definitely, you guys could both go because you would at least. My problem isn't that I'm worried I'll be scared there or something like that. More along the lines of I just don't know anything. So it'd be like going to a football game. You know what I mean? Like, I would enjoy it. I would have fun, but the event would be wasted on me.
No,
So
I think we left that there long enough that people can screen capture that and come back to it if they want.
yes, absolutely. I will stop sharing.
Yeah, I think the trick is going to be getting all of our emails out to their media person saying, "Hey, would you like us to come there? Could we have some media passes for your thingy?" And we'll come out and promote it promote it before it starts, and then stuff.
Sounds like a plan.
I guess the trickiest part now is that you and I are mostly busy on the weekends, so we have to make sure we know in advance to not be lined up to actually do our job instead of our fun job. Our job's fun too, but
I was gonna say I like my job,
but it's not as engaging as the conventions are. So you need to do a driving school convention. Cool. So you've never actually yourself, you haven't been to DakuCon. I was asking about that.
No.
Okay, so
it seems like
the name sounded really familiar, so I feel like just before COVID, I'm having like this really faint memory of us being asked to do some anime convention just before COVID hit, and I think the thing was that it was an 18 and over anime convention. Is it Daku anime or just
no, it's
I don't know,
all.
Okay, that might not have been it then. I don't know.
But
COVID punched all the conventions right in the nuts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that with DakuCon specifically, some part of my brain swears we've done something with that.
We haven't been to that. The only other anime convention we've been to was the.
No, I agree, but I mean, I'm just saying that I feel like it was like we had somebody who was
trying to get us to go there,
broadcast from there or something.
Yeah, and I feel like it was just before COVID.
I feel like it was too.
But I think I assumed it was anime because it was Daku.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
I went to the ninja anime or the ninja convention, but I couldn't find anybody.
Yeah. GalactiCon.
Yeah. Serial Con. So
that's that old Ask a Ninja.
Mm.
They had in the early days of the web.
Yep.
There was Ask a Ninja, and one of them was like, "Where do ninjas go to hang out? We go to GalactiCon." So, yeah.
Oh man, that was a long time ago.
It was a long ass time ago. Lauren got me the Ask a Ninja book.
I didn't know they did a book.
They did a book, and actually, and it's pretty funny. But there is actually a nugget of wisdom in there, and it's like, what kind of question should you ask your martial arts master? And it's like, it is very dangerous to ask your martial arts master any questions, not because they won't answer, but because they will answer. They'll tell you stories of all the awesome things they've done and all the people they've beaten up or killed. And they'll go on and on for hours. And it will only be tangentially, if at all, related to your actual question. I'm like, true. So true.
Well, 18 years ago is how long ago it was.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But I remember because there's a t-shirt that he did the whole thing with. At some point after the show, I'll have to watch this one. It is the what is podcasting?
Awesome.
Yeah, in 2006, that was a legitimate question because
not
a lot of people knew.
You aren't wrong.
I remember back in the early days too. Most people were like, "We already have radio. Why do we need podcasting? I don't want to just listen to people talk anymore. That's not on radio." Ah, oh, what else is there? If you're interested, if there's anything on Hulu, then you don't have Hulu yet, and you would like to, and you don't mind ads. Their special deal today is 99 cents a month for a year if you want to do that. So it's $12 for the whole year, but you have to have ads with it. But there's stuff on there I've been wanting to watch, so I went ahead and I'm going to do that because that's a really good deal. And you can cancel anytime you want. So if you decide you don't want to pay that extra $1 for December of next year, you can drop it in November of next year.
Cool. Yeah, I put Legion on my list.
Cool.
I liked Legion. It was good.
Loved it. I've seen it at least 3 times from what I can, probably more. I just lost count. Let's talk sound bars. Since that's geeky. and I was looking at them, and they were there. There's of course Cyber Monday deals going, so I should probably get one while the getting's cheap.
Oh no!
No,
it's you only have a couple hours left.
I know. I was going to ask you, what do you have? Because you do like what you have, right?
Yeah. I honestly don't. I mean, I've been drinking.
Oh, you can after the show. You can text it to me.
Okay. No, it's I would just look at at your price point. Look at I mean, you should be able to find there's a couple of different websites that are really good about
recommending stuff. I was
recommending what kind of how much oomph you need for the space you're trying to fill.
Yeah, it said to get at least the 3 thing because of the 3 channels.
Yeah.
So you want at least a number 3.
That's the bare minimum, because that's going to give you stereo plus subwoofer. If you want to go true surround sound and stuff's going to get more expensive and more difficult to set up. But it's actually with the Bluetooth setups now, you're probably just fine. Not having to run a wire.
I'm not really sure I care to have a complete sound thing. It's one of those things that's irritating that the audio when people talk is out here like this, and then the explosions are 20 times the volume.
Right. Yeah, and that's you may not get away with that. I mean, you could probably still. I mean, because dynamic sound matters.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say that most of your sound bars these days and setups, because in our setup, it's a fairly small room, so we just have a little sound bar and a subwoofer behind us. But the last couple sound bars I've had, and I still have one of them over there and the basement setup, is they have basically an auto leveling for the audio, so it'll bring up the low stuff, it'll bring down the loud stuff. Depending on how good it is, it might be a moment of really quiet before it boosts it, or really loud before it stomps on it.
Yeah, catching up to it.
But the one that we have is pretty good. I personally like the dynamic range. I don't really put on that leveling, but it is available. So
yeah, a little bit's good, but I found that with some shows, especially on like HBO Max, it seems ridiculous.
Right. And it's been a growing phenomena of people watching things with subtitles on.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've experienced it in my own personal life, as well as people talking about it in different spaces. And it's something that I never.
Grace House.
Well, if the audio is always really low, but just some people seem to enjoy it that way and such. I mean, I like watching subtitle movies, but
Me too.
If I have the option of something in English, not necessarily a dub, but like if it's an English movie or show, I generally don't watch it with subtitles because I like to pay attention to the performances, or the art if it's animated and stuff like that. But lots of people out there like to have it, and I don't want to yuck anybody's yum. It's just not for me.
Yeah, I find it more as a necessity, and depending on how heavy the accents are and some stuff, it becomes a little more necessary. But I find that most of the time I don't end up looking at it. It's just the time when the audio is too low to understand what they said. My biggest complaint about audio, though, for subtitles, is when it gets ahead of what is being said, because it messes with the rhythm of a joke. But it's better than not getting the joke at all because you didn't hear anything, and I'm gonna go back.
Two things. One, I cannot not read the subtitles. That's just the way it is with me, and so
kind of there too.
I'm a old school anime fan, and I'm used to reading the subtitles, and very, very trained. Although it does not bother me to miss what's going on the screen, I also have a pattern that I can do, which is read the subtitles and watch the action, read the subtitles and watch the action. The second thing is I've discovered with Prime, Amazon Prime, you can go into audio and switch it to leveled, which is nice, which levels it out.
Yeah, I'm hoping a soundbar will fix my issues with sound, and then it won't matter anymore.
That'd be fair.
And I didn't know what I was going to ask for Christmas anyway, and I figured that's a really good Christmas gift because then the whole family and guests and everybody can use it, as opposed to like, hey, check out my awesome miniature collection I have now. It's bigger now, so yeah, I think it'll be cool. But I was going to try to jump on these last minute sales and try to find something cool. I'm curious what this most expensive one is here. Oh, I see. It's on the other. It's the reverse angle. And then it went away. No, it doesn't help me any. I am sorting these best sound bars, 7 best sound bars by price, and I wanted to see what the highest one was on their list. Get back down here.
Yeah, and honestly, pretty much anything's going to be better than your built-in television speakers.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Although
what?
I was just going to say I don't necessarily agree on that one, but that's just me. But I think that has a lot to do with auditory processing failure on my part, and nothing to do with you guys.
Yeah, I guess I would just make sure you know what outputs you have on your television and what inputs the soundbar will accept.
Do they work with the soundbar themselves? Do they also function with just wireless?
In my experience, most televisions have to line out to the soundbar somehow.
Okay.
Yeah, because and what I've been doing the last couple soundbars I've been using optical. So
cool. Yeah, I know my really old sound system I have has an optical input, but I don't think my television I have down here in the basement has an optical output. But
yeah.
Well, cool. Well, thank you for the advice. And it's luckily it's not a huge deal if I miss the Black or the Cyber Monday stuff, but obviously being frugal, I'd prefer to not miss it. A good deal.
Which makes sense.
What's been holding me off though is, I don't want to just grab the first one I see. All right, cool. That was our tech corner for 10 minutes.
10-minute tech corner.
Yeah, I actually hadn't heard of soundbars until you was talking about yours, Alex, because I always just thought sound systems stuff. Soundbars are definitely much more compact than the crazy Onkyo thing I have.
Yeah, I ran receivers for years. I still have at least one in storage, but they are. I mean, honestly, these days, if you're running a receiver, you are slipping into like actual audiophile territory, where you're going to want to have really nice receiver, really nice speakers, good speaker wire, the whole thing. Which honestly is a little bit. I'm not in that world anymore, and so I don't know how well those things move over to a television, a modern
Right.
television, instead of having like an actual modern home theater setup.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this was meant more for like record players and
Mhm.
CD players and stuff, and it just happens to also work with other stuff. But it was one of
Yeah.
those floor model deals that our good buddy Jeffrey was able to like say, hey, this thing just went on sale because they're replacing this floor model with another floor model. Would you like to capitalize on this awesome deal? I'm like, sure. So now I have a big piece of tech I don't know how to use.
Oh. Well, if you ever decide to start like setting it up with your receiver and everything, make sure that on your, at least your main speakers, that your speaker wire length is about the same. So if you have your left speakers on, 10 feet, don't put your right speakers on 50 feet.
Because they will not sound the same.
They won't sound the same.
Cool. All right. I think
In a way, when we talk like that, it makes me kind of glad that I have auditory processing problems, and therefore, the more complicated the audio setup, the less I can understand it. Because I'm like, that would just drive me crazy having to remember how many feet each wire needs to be.
Just have to be equal.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah,
like
but-
when you get your one, and it should be the speakers and everything should be about the same distance apart from each other anyway, or at least from where you're sitting and all that. So but
Yeah,
it's not that difficult, but I get it.
Yeah.
It's not that difficult. I'm just kind of like going, well, in a way, I'm kind of grateful. All I really need is the TV speaker.
It'd
And
be
then
like
I
if you had no taste buds, it could be like you could be any weight you wanted because you wouldn't necessarily crave all the sugary stuff. You would just eat anything; it all tastes the same. So,
and maybe that is the best analogy. I have no taste buds in my ears.
yeah. So taking you to a fine dining establishment when it comes to sound is wasted on you.
Exactly. And hey,
Interesting.
look at me actually saying something very James.
Mhm.
I'm proud of myself for that one. You're all welcome.
Well, I know we're almost out of time, but now I
Yeah.
wonder, it's like, so how was the PMJ concert?
PMJ concert was
He didn't hear anything. He has horrible audio.
no. It was very wonderful. The company was lovely, and so but it all worked really well, and it was a very electrifying thing. I don't usually go to concerts for the reasons stated above that we just talked about. So this is pretty much my second concert really ever after Sting in 1997. So I don't typically go, and I went this time and really thoroughly enjoyed myself. We were dancing, we were jumping around, we were doing all kinds of stuff. It was a really lovely, lovely experience. So I rather enjoyed it. Yeah. So yeah, it was interesting that Scott Bradley was not there.
Weird.
That was interesting to me because they kept saying, this is, Bob Smith and Tim Jones and, all of these people, and we are Scott Bradley's Postmodern Jukebox. And I'm like, no Scott Bradley.
Sir not appearing in this show.
Yeah. I'm like, but he's not here. But I mean, it was exactly what you expect from PMJ, except leveled up. It's just like the videos on YouTube, except with, turned up to about 50. It was really, really, really exciting and really cool. They kept doing the thing where they would do a piece, and I was like, oh, this is it. This is the showstopper. This is bringing down the house. And then they would keep going, and the next one would be even more of a showstopper. And I'm like, oh no, I mean this is it. This is the one bringing down the house. And then it would go for it. I'm like, that was really cool. And I just, I got to give him props. It was, I mean, I'm not like the world's most experienced person at concerts, but that was a hell of a thing. And it made me reevaluate my theory about going to concerts. So
That's awesome. I wish I could have
Mhm.
gone.
Wish
Yeah.
you could have too. It was
So
something
say if
else.
either of you catch word that they're gonna come through again, let me know because I'll definitely go.
Yeah, I think definitely. And the theater was not sold out, but it also wasn't empty.
Nice.
There were a lot of us there, and so it was a very, very good concert. So yeah.
Nice. Well, you got to go report to your boss to do some drawing, don't you?
I do indeed. My boss would apparently be Brent. Little did you know.
Oh, okay. I thought your boss was a jerk, because I thought it was the other guy, but it's Brent, so he's not a jerk. It's just a
Okay, well,
harsh
don't tell Brent
taskmaster.
that though.
Don't tell him he's not a jerk.
Well, no, don't tell him that I've said that my boss was a jerk.
Oh, okay. Oh, I won't.
Okay, yeah, because that's important that he never finds that out.
Yeah.
All right. On that note, that's all the time we have for today. I've been Guy.
I've been Troy.
And I've been Alex.
And this is Geek Tank.